What it is, y'all, it's your old boy Pilk, and I'm coming back with another Wistoria chapter. Today we're doing chapter 34 of the manga. We're getting closer and closer to catching up, so make sure you guys stay tuned, because it is not going to be that much longer before we actually are caught up, another few weeks at least. So, Wistoria wanted to start chapter 34. This is clearly a new volume cover here, and what I love about this is that they're showcasing all of the different colors. You can definitely see the difference in the colorless outfits of both Julius and Will and everybody else's like inherent colors that they got. So really interesting stuff. Now, ignore that. Now, as we jump in, essentially, as you guys know, Will and Julius are colorless. They have like no faction, no nothing. They're just kind of in limbo at the moment, and they essentially have a week to make something work. And essentially, Julius comes to Will as Will's getting scouted by a couple other people, and they're like, hey, you did some pretty impressive stuff. And Julius is like, no. We need to stick together. Like, you've got to work with me. 100%. And here's the deal with Julius. Julius absolutely never learns. Now, he brings up some salad points. He's like, you got to learn how to control your waist, and you got to learn how to do all this other stuff. But as it turns out, the whole reason he's doing this is he's charming him and basically saying, like, hey, look, you're my friend. And he knows how to play Will. Will is like, I'm your friend. And he goes, yeah, sure, buddy. Whatever you say. Whole time, all he's doing is he's looking for a way to basically use Will to kind of suck up to Elfie. That's literally all he's doing. And spoiler alert, I don't think he does a very good job of it. But that's me. You guys can kind of judge for yourselves as we go along. But Will's never about this. He's like, oh, we're friends. I never knew that. And he's like, yep. He's like, but we got to get to work. We've got a lot to do and very little time in which to do it. So there's like this whole manga equivalent of a training montage. And essentially they are, he's imbued the sword with some ice magic. And he's basically helping Will try to like control it. He's like, look, I'll summon this ice guardian, very similar, basically like the phoenix that we saw Sion use. This is an ice variation of that, and he tells Will, he's like, look, more or less, he's like, what you want to do is you want to damage it. You don't want to destroy him. Just do a little bit of damage. Control your power output. He's like, that's your biggest problem right now. Is once you use this power, you go all for nothing. And there's basically go 100% and there's no in between. It's like, use a fraction of that. Use like 1% or less of that and just do a little bit of damage. You don't always have to go all out. And he makes a really solid point here. But his goal is to, on the surface, make Will learn how to control his magic. And to Will, this makes tons of sense. He's logicking it out and he says, okay, well, obviously he's right. And Julius just keeps giving all these examples of how it works and how he does it and how things are going on. And as this progresses, you find out that this is essentially, he says, well, Will here says it's practically magic. It kind of sort of is magic to a degree. He's still borrowing magic, but at least he can focus and he can store some of it. So it's not like he can't propagate the magic himself, but he can store it in the sword. He can utilize it little by little. And, essentially that is the gist of what they're going for here. Now, there's this little cutaway here where everyone's talking to Elfie, and they're like, why didn't you admit Julius? And Elfie, she's essentially a child about it. She's like, look, old boy talked some smack about me. He talked about, like, all kinds of unnecessary goodness. He exposed my entire childhood. He did all this crap. Why am I going to do him any favors? And they're like, because he's strong? Doesn't make any sense that you're not? And she's like, well, I'm going to do it on my terms, and my terms are to hell with that guy. I get it. I totally get it. I absolutely get it. But, like, her carekeeper and Iris are both in the background just trying to, like, basically conspire and then make her see the the error of her ways and all that. But the whole time, Julius and Will are still just trying to do this little this ice falcon fight thing, and there's just a lot of dialogue here. It's not immensely important. You get the basic idea. Julius is encouraging in his own way, is the best way I can put it. I mean, you can see from his expression here, like he's trying to encourage him. He's saying some encouraging things, very violently and brashly, but he's definitely, saying the stuff he needs to say. I just don't think he's saying it the way he intends to say it. And then here, Will is eventually like, what is your end goal here? What are you really doing? And he's just, at some point, he's like, you find out that he's basically controlling the ice clones. They're off doing studies and things like that. They're actually like providing him data at the same time that he's doing this training montage. So he's essentially controlling all those clones and learning and helping Will and casting the magic to help Will. All of this is going on simultaneously. And he starts to kind of fracture a little bit. And he says, open your eyes. I'm helping myself as much as I'm helping you. Let's be real. And he really starts to just like break down what he's doing. I don't think he really means to, but he definitely does. And Will calls him kind. He's like, well, that's a kind of kindness, I guess. Like you're still helping out. That is still kind. And Julius loses it. And at this point I'm reading, I'm like, why is he gets a compliment and the dude just cracks? Like, what the hell's going on? But as you go down here, you get this flashback. And one thing I love is the way they do these flashbacks. You see how like the page is like slowly going down to black here. And when you get to the black outline, you see here that this is all the flashback. And they do this just about every time. Whenever there's a flashback, it's got this black border, which I really like. And I guess this is a childhood friend of his. And she's like, oh, you're so kind, Julius. And he's like, of course I am. It's my job. I'm a noble. Nobles are supposed to be kind. And people just keep going on about, oh, you're kind. You're so kind. You're so kind. And basically the long and the short of it is all these people in his past told him he was kind, but he more or less just gets kicked around and like his kindness really doesn't do him any major favors. And he's like, how dare you talk to me about kindness the way old girl did? Anna's her name. And he's like, I killed off that Julius that is kind. I am not kind. I am not a decent person. He ain't wrong. And meanwhile, while all this is going on, you have this meeting here where you've got all these people that are kind of like, hey, I want you to send a message to the colorless. What is that message? Well, as they're training and as they're going around, these three burst in. I think these are the three that kind of like ascended with them that also were colorless. And they're like, nah, this is it. We're your training comes to an end now. We're fighting. We're absolutely fighting. And they just unleash on poor Julius. I say poor Julius. But I mean, the reality here is Will does not get the brunt of their anger. They're going ham on Will. And it sucks because Will's already stretched thin. He even mentions over here. He's like, they're going to do this while I'm at my lowest point. Like, I've been using all my magic. I've got all the shadow clones out there. I am doing all this stuff. All I can do is sit here and maybe taunt them and do the best I can do. And I love this. I almost use his face for the thumbnail. I decided against it, but I almost use it for the thumbnail because I love that expression. And he calls them cogs in the machine. And essentially, he's not wrong. Like, the colorless are definitely being used by the tower, essentially, as just cannon fodder, more or less. And he calls out each and every one of them. He's like, you are my junior, you may be my senior, and you are impetuous. And he's just like, he's going on and on and on to these two. Like, he knows them personally. And they're losing their minds. Everybody here is basically fighting for their lives. That's the thing you got to understand, is everybody here thinks this is the end of the road. If they don't make it in the next week, that's it. That's it. And Julius is like, I'll go so far as to use the Magic of Ander if I see fit. I will do everything in my power to win. That is what I do. That is my goal. This is how this is going to play out. And they unleash this barrage. And here comes Will. Like, Julius looks like he's straight up just unalive there, more or less. We know he's not, but it looks like he's like, this is the end. His whole history's flashing before his eyes, and it ain't pretty. And, yeah, here comes Will, and he's like, yeah, I was able to use Kiki to block that. What's going on? Give me a little something. And Julius finally snaps. He's like, are you an idiot? He's like, clearly I've been using you, you moron. What the hell's going on? Why would you help me? And he's like, you are an absolute moron. And Will stands up. He's like, I kind of guess I'm a little bit of a dummy. But you know what? I'm a dummy that's going to help you. And I love it. Julius actually clocks Will. If you remember back in the tournament, Will, landed a absolute just knockout punch on Julius. And here Julius kind of pays him back, but obviously it's not the same. And he's just like, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. How would you talk to me like Anna? And this is kind of where you get the feeling that Julius is still living with his demons a little bit. He really is. And everything goes to hell, and then all this wind comes in, and this person, quite voluptuous in nature, pops in, and she's like, I'm Ceridewn, and I'm going to be your new teacher. And that's where we leave off. The introduction. That is my new word that is going in the dictionary. I'm going to call Noah Webster tonight and be like, introduction. What's an introduction? It's like an introduction, but that introduction. So we got the introduction of Ceridewn. Like, comment, share. We'll be back with episode chapter 35 coming up in a couple of days when I can actually speak words again like a wording person. Full of words. And introductions.